Hi there. So this week we are going to talk about style. What is style? Particularly when it comes to art making. What is style? How do you get it? Why do you need it? What does it amount to? And our guest this week is a very stylish fellow. Jonathan Twingley is an illustrator in New York, and he is the author of a fantastic illustrated novel, not a graphic novel, but it's a novel with beautiful illustrations in it. It's called The Badlands Saloon. And he is also a teacher and a successful illustrator. And most importantly, he is a fresh new member of the faculty of Sketchbook School. And he will be teaching in our class called Stretching, about to start. So let's begin. So, John, what is style? What's important about it? And how do I get one?
Style, that question comes up a lot when I'm teaching in my own development as an artist, when I'm talking with other artists. When students ask about it, first thing I say is, forget about it. It's kind of like the sound of my voice versus the sound of your voice. I'm not talking to you like this. That would be sort of an affectation. And just trusting that if you and I both draw the Starbucks coffee cup on the table, mine's going to come out as a Twingley, and yours is going to come out as a Gregory. It's inherent in who we are. Styles is what happens naturally when we forget about it.
Now, what about when it comes to first drawing? Because I sometimes feel like it's almost like everybody who starts drawing kind of almost draws in the same way. It's like children's drawings, they're all kind of similar. But then it seems like great illustrators in particular have really distinct styles. Now, is that something, certainly I understand that it's something that comes out of who you are, but how do you kind of focus on that? How do you bring that out? How do you sharpen who you are so that you are conveying it in the most attractive way?
Well, the short answer would be draw a lot. The whole process is becoming a more purified version of yourself. I was reading an interview with Gil Evans, the great jazz composer, and he was talking about Miles Davis, and he said, he was talking about all these influences, but sometimes it takes a long time to play like yourself, because we all are influenced by a million different things, and it's kind of like Photoshop too. We all up, and it comes with the same set of tools. So those things you were talking about, there's gradients in Photoshop, and there are different tools that we can use that we all have access to the same ones. And the more you use it, you learn how to tweak the tools that are available and personalize it and cross-pollinate the things. And experimentation ties into this in a big way as well.
So ironically, it seems like almost copying other people and other people's styles in your development can actually lead you to developing your own style somehow.
Absolutely. And that's always a fine line too, because I think when you're young especially, or not even young in terms of age, but when you're just beginning to do something like working in a sketchbook or drawing, that it's important to look at the work of other artists. There's the other artists have been probably faced with the same challenges you are in terms of how does cross-hatching work, or how does working with the brush pen work. And so, yeah, looking at a lot of other artists, we take little bits and pieces from all these other things that we've seen. But then at the same time, it's important sometimes to put on the blinders and forget about what other people are doing and focus on your own voice in making a lot of work.
I think it's interesting also to talk about the media, because I think a lot of times we feel like, I'm interested in what pen you're using and I want to kind of draw like you, so I'm going to use the pen you're using. And yet I seem to find that with people who really have style, it doesn't matter what they're drawing with. That style always seems to come out, and yet I can use the same materials you're using, and it doesn't necessarily look like the way you do it. What do you think the connection is between those two? Or is it that if we have a certain style, we like a certain kind of tool?
Well, I think we all respond to tools. Just a generic example, I'm working with a wonderful student this semester who's an oil painter. He loves oil paint as a medium. We were talking the other day, I'm a pen and ink guy. I love that blank sheet of paper, dipping a pen nib into this wet ink and making a mark and not knowing exactly what's going to happen and respond to that. Well, my student said, that terrifies. My personality would rebel against that sense of not knowing. And so our personalities, our choice of tools is very much a response of, our individual sensibilities.
I guess it's true, like in music, you can't imagine Miles Davis playing the electric bass or something like that. It's like, I mean, there's some people who play all different kinds of instruments, and I think similarly with different media, there are artists who use different things. I don't think you necessarily, I mean, I think you're always evolving, and that's my experience, and I think that's yours as well. That you're always experimenting, trying stuff out, and growing and moving in different directions.
Well, absolutely. Isaiah Berlin wrote this long essay called The Hedgehog and the Fox. And the basic nut of it is there's two kinds of people. There's the hedgehog is, who does lots of different things, Picasso, for instance. And then there's a fox who does one thing very well, a Morandi, the painter, who just paints bottles on a shelf his whole career. So that's a personality thing too, yeah.
Right, I think I'm a hedgehog. Yes. Well, great. Well, I think the class that you're going to be teaching at Sketchbook School is, I think you're going to show us your style, which I think is really unique and personal and fantastic and really inspiring. I know that after working with you and making our film, it just drove me to go and do a bunch of experiments that didn't turn out anything like your work, but I felt like really inspired by it. And I felt like it helped, strangely enough, it helped me to kind of recognize my own voice a bit more clearly. But I think also you're going to show us some new and interesting techniques that will be very different to people using common art supplies, but in new and different ways. So I think it's going to be really exciting. And your style, I think, is going to influence a lot of people starting in a few weeks. So thanks very much.
I'm really looking forward to it, Danny. Thanks. It's been fun so far.
Okay, great.